ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه وبركاته عليه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Continuing Buloogh Al-Maraam by the great illustrious Imam Ahmad bin Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah المتوفى سنة 822. The great illustrious Imam Ahmad bin Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, who died 852 after the Hijrah, after the migration of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. We continue Buloogh Al-Maraam on this day, Sunday, April 28th, 7:16 p.m., which is now the 23rd of Sha'ban. Well, it still says the 22nd. You say the 23rd of Sha'ban? So, what does yours say? It's 22nd? 23rd. Maybe it's a glitch on my phone. The 23rd of Sha'ban, which is the year 1440 after the Hijrah. Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam. And we continue in the class as we finish the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We said, من لم يدع قول الزور والعمل به والجهل فليس لله حاجة في أن يضع طعامه شرابه. رواه البخاري أبو داود واللفظ له. Whoever does not leave off evil statements and evil actions and jahl. And we said jahl means one not being forbearing and one not pardoning and excusing one, especially while one is fasting. As we said in this particular instance or this particular time, when one is fasting, he's in a sacred state and he's doing his best to maintain his ibadah, which is his siyam, his fasting of Allah Ta'ala. So in that state that one is in, it's very incumbent upon him to be very forbearing, meaning to be tolerant and not to retaliate, not to have, or be so, what, as they say, so more prone to retaliate for one that comes with some type of ignorance. That you're ready to retaliate or be in a verbal confrontation with one while one is fasting. Rather, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam highly encouraged that one be forbearing and pardon and not to be in a state of retaliation where he will end up in some verbal confrontation with one, and as a result of it, he will either remove the reward of fasting together or at the least diminish his reward. To the point where we said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had clearly mentioned and said, if a person was to fall into these matters, which is mentioned in this narration, فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ فِي أَنْ يَضَعَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. Then Allah is not in need of leaving off his food and drink. We said based upon this narration is to show and clarify the matters of those affairs which breaks one's fast and nullifies it. As far as the first category we discussed from last class, which is called mufattirat ma'nawiyya, those mufattirat which are mufattirat hissiyya. We said mufattirat hissiyya, meaning those affairs or those type of matters that are consumed in one's body, meaning what one can see or touch or feel, something that's tangible, and that one can attain with his senses as food or drink, or what they say is the meaning of food and drink. There's a lot of people think that breaking one's fast consists of what is consumed. Or, of course, we know from one, breaking one's fast is the first category is called mufattirat hissiyya, meaning what can be touched, smelled, seen, felt, something that is tangible. As we said, as we know, food and drink breaks one's fast. And also, being intimate with his wife breaks one's fast. A person would probably think, what is the reason for why one fasting? While he's in a state of fasting, why does he have to abstain from being intimate with his spouse? As we know, that due to the narration, the Messenger of Allah clearly said in the Hadith al-Qudsi, يَضَعْ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ وَشَهْوَتَهُ مِنْ أَجْلِي, that he leaves off his food, his drink, and his desires for me or because of me. So, abstination from these matters while one is fasting is what is incumbent upon one in order to actualize this tremendous ibadah, which is fasting the month of Ramadan, which is considered a pillar of our religion, which it's established upon. So we said the mufattirat ma'nawiyya of hissiyya, those affairs that break your fast, the food and drink, and indulging in one's desires, of course. And another affair which a lot of people, or some people, are ignorant of is the meaning of food and drink. The meaning of food and drink. That is something of a fourth type, in which we'll talk about, inshallah. The meaning of food and drink, of what is injected inside of the vein or the muscle of the body. Verily, injecting one with some substance that can be utilized for nutrition or giving nutrients to the body will break the fast. It will break the fast. If it's an injection that gives nutrients to the body, whereas the body can utilize it in place of food and drink, then it will break your fast. If that injection does not take the place of food and drink, it does not break your fast. It does not break your fast. If it's an injection or some type of medicine where it does not give nutrients to the body, it does not break your fast. So when we say injections, we have to give details, because there are certain injections that will give nutrients and certain injections that will not. And if it's the first, then it breaks your fast. And if it's the second, then it does not break your fast. So when you hear Ahl Ilm say the meaning of food and drink, meaning injections, as far as suppositories or things that are put in one's body through the private part, whether it be from one's, as they say, the qubul or the dubur, from the private part of one, whether it be as far as the male, the penis or the anus, and in regards to the woman similar to that, then that is something we'll discuss inshallah. But just to give everyone a heads up, that as far as what's been related, then no, it does not. We'll discuss it inshallah. But as far as injections in the muscle, or injections in the vein, or what have you, or so on and so forth, if it gives nutrients to the body, it breaks the fast. If it does not give nutrients and it's just mere medicine, whereas it is not utilized for nutrition for the body, then it does not break the fast. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is everyone following me? طيب. So that's the first category, what they call mufattirat hissiyah, those tangible affairs that breaks one fast, which is a food or consumption of food or drink or something they will consume. Does it have to necessarily be something that will break your fast? Does it necessarily have to be food and drink? It can also mean medicine, everyone. We'll talk about that, inshallah. As far as certain pills that are digested, certain pills which are digested, and it reaches the intestinal tract where now it's digested in the stomach, it breaks the fast. As far as asthma pumps, if one has asthma and he uses what they call bakhakh ضيق النفس, bakhakh ضيق النفس, as they say in Arabic, which is a pump for one's asthma, then we say it is permissible for one to use while he is fasting. One can utilize it because the substance that's actually blown into the system is not a heavy substance. It's not a heavy substance that what will be digested in the stomach, whereas it will break one's fast. So the asthma pump is permissible. What I wanted to read quickly, because some of the people have asked me about toothpaste. Oh, I just took the page off. I hate it when I do that. I just had it. SubhanAllah there. Excuse me, everyone. I hate it when I lift it up. Here it is. As far as in regards to toothpaste and a toothbrush. Now listen, I'll say it again. The question was asked, is it permissible for one to use toothbrush or toothpaste? It was asked in another place, Ibn Uthaymeen, the same question. He said, Al-Jawab yajuz, it is permissible. So here in this narration he said, it is permissible to use toothbrush and a toothpaste. However, he says, it is more befitting that he does not use it. So he didn't say it was haram. Did not say toothbrush and toothpaste is haram. He did not say that. He said it was al-awla. Al-awla means it's more befitting. He said al-awla alla yasta'milaha. Like what is more befitting is that one does not use it. He says of what is in toothpaste, of quwwat al-nufuz. He says how strong its force might be if you brush it, and what will be prone to be digested. And it will descend to the back of the throat. He said, وَبَدَلَ مِنْ أَنْ يَفْعَلَ ذَلِكَ فِي النَّهَارِ يَفْعَلُهُ فِي اللَّيْلِ. He said, instead of him doing that in the day, let him do it in the night. Or let him use just a toothbrush without the toothpaste. Let him use a toothbrush without the toothpaste. So he did not say it's haram, but rather he said it is permissible. But however, he said it's more befitting that one does not use it. It's more befitting. He said al-awla, that one does not what? Use it. One has to be very careful in words when he says halal, haram. There's a reason why Ahl Ilm break these categories down to makruh, detested, or hated, halal, haram, because these are not words that wants to just jump out to you so quickly. You have to be very careful. Very, very careful when we say that something is halal or something is haram. To make sure it's backed and substantiated with some evidence clearly stated in Kitab and Sunnah, as we'll talk about inshallah. So that's one of the affairs we discussed. So we said these type of matters breaks the fast. We also added on to that anything that is done on purpose, as we discussed last class, or anything that is done, I'm going to reverse it. Anything that is done unintentionally. unintentionally. I mean, he didn't do it on purpose. Or, for example, when it's done out of forgetfulness, or what is done out of ignorance. If one falls into something that breaks his fast, either out of ignorance, and we said that ignorance breaks down to two categories last class. You have ignorance of the ruling and ignorance of the time. Ignorance of the ruling and ignorance of the time. If one falls into one of the two, it does not break his fast. Person wakes up for Fajr, he thinks that Fajr has not came in yet. His mind might be a little discombobulated because he's maybe a little bit still tired. So he gets up, runs to the kitchen, he tries to eat sahur. He's eating, then he turns and looks. He finds that the time is in for Fajr. Do we say that his fast is invalid? We said based upon what has been mentioned in the previous classes, we said no. Because he was jahil bil waqt. He was ignorant of the time. But if he was aware, that's something different. But if he was unaware and he wasn't sure, and he just jumped right up and he saw, oh, I got to eat, and he was totally unaware and he was in a state of heedlessness or inadvertence, and he jumps to eat, and he's not aware at the time, then his fast is still valid. He continues to fast. We gave examples of this because I don't want to go too much in detail. Right. So we said also what is done unintentionally. Unintentionally. A person walks down the street. Let's just say he smells some odor, a very detestful, pungent smell. And as a result of it, he vomited. He vomited. As we know, vomiting does break one's fast if he sticks his finger in his mouth to intentionally do it. If he does it he does it in that manner, it breaks his fast. If a person walks down the street and he smells a smell and he vomits, here in this instance, we said his fast is still what? Valid, and he would continue. Why? Because it was what? Unintentional. It was unintentional. He did not do it on purpose. Or let's just say we know that smoking breaks your fast. Smoking a cigarette or smoking weed or any of these type of intoxicants will break your fast. Will break your fast. Probably a person would say, well, I'm walking down the street and I drove in my car past a factory and I had a lot of smoke and I inhaled it. Does it break my fast? We said based upon what we just mentioned, no. Why? Because it was what? Unintentional. Just happened to be walking down the street or driving down the street. You inhale some smoke, or let's just say there was a person out there smoking a cigarette and you walked by him and you inhaled some of the what? Some of the smoke, or you smelled some of the smoke, or the secondhand smoke, whatever they call it. You smelled it, or you inhaled a little bit of it. Here in this case, it does not break the fast because it was unintentional. But if it was intentional, you took the cigarette, you put it in your hand, and you lit the cigarette and smoked, that will break your fast because it was what? Intentional. That's due to the ayat that Allah Ta'ala says, He said, لَا يُؤَاخِذُكُمُ اللَّهُ بِمَا أَخْطَأْتُمْ وَلَكِنْ مَا تَعَمَّدَتْ قُلُوبُكُمْ. That Allah will not hold you accountable for what you've done out of mistake, but however, what your hearts had intentionally and on purpose done. That what you did on purpose, what you intentionally did, that is what He's going to hold you accountable for. وَلَكِنْ مَا تَعَمَّدَتْ قُلُوبُكُمْ. طيب. So these are to show why, how Islam is, everything is in its perfect order and everything is in what? Systematic order. وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدِ. How everything is clear. So those are just examples of the affairs that breaks one's fast. There's others, other than that, which, like I said, we'll give the details a little bit later, and it's all going to come, inshallah. The second category, what we discussed from last class, is called what, everyone? Mufattirat ma'nawiyah. those intangible affairs that breaks one's fast that one cannot see but it's there, such as sins. Sins will diminish your reward to the point as if you did not fast. That's why it's very highly emphasized. Matter of fact, excuse me, it is highly emphasized, especially while one is fasting, to leave off any type of vulgar speech, obnoxious behavior, raising one's voice, hollering and screaming, using profanity, vulgar, obscene speech. All of those affairs are to be what? Avoided while one is fasting. He cannot backbite any time of the year, not just in Ramadan. Namima, riba, false speech, or vulgar speech, obscene speech, any type of obnoxious or unacceptable behavior, becoming confrontational, verbal confrontation, argumentation, being argumentative. All these affairs are to be avoided while one is fasting. All of them are to be avoided. Because, like we said, one, when he fasts, he wants to benefit from it truly, which is that Allah prepared for him a tremendous reward in the hereafter. And we clearly have the ahadith of the Messenger of Allah, where he said, clearly in this narration, if you look at your books, that whoever does not avoid those matters and stays away from them, Allah Ta'ala will not accept his fast, whereas he will be deprived of the tremendous reward that Allah has prepared for the one who fasts for his sake. And from those affairs, like we said, is any type of obnoxious, unacceptable behavior. Arguing, bickering, any type of confrontation verbally is to be avoided while one is fasting. And if one is to come in order to bring some type of foolishness or argument or differing or bickering, then one is to walk away and to say to that person, I'm fasting, and to leave them off. So any type of obscene or any type of vulgar speech, and also likewise, one should not retaliate. One should not retaliate. Retaliation in the state one should avoid, just to merely walk away. Because we said Siyam is a school to teach you how to perfect your character during that month. So likewise, you carry those same characteristics when the month is over. Those same characteristics of you engaging in arguing and avoiding arguments and confrontation, you will carry those same characteristics, inshallah, if you truly benefited from Ramadan. Outside the month of Ramadan, they will carry along with you to the rest for your rest of your life, inshallah. That's the reason why Allah Ta'ala says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, in order that you may attain taqwa, knowing how to conduct yourself properly when someone of ignorance approaches you, and knowing how to deal with them, knowing how to walk away and just merely what? Ignore them. And ignorance is to be ignored. If one does not want to engage with knowledge and they want to argue with you with just mere emotions and ignorance and impulse and making impulsive statements and just coming with insults and cursing and calling you out of your name, that's nothing beneficial. That's not going to solve anything. It's just a waste of time. If a person is not going to come with manners, integrity, and upright behavior and etiquette and discuss the matter with you, then walk away. Especially while one is fasting, because he wants to maintain and protect his fast, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept it. And if Allah accepts his fast, he will have a tremendous reward. So that is to conclude what we discussed last class in brief, and we move on to the next narration. If everyone looks in the books, it says on the authority of our mother, Aisha radiallahu anha, it says, قالت كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقبل وهو صائم ويباشر وهو صائم. وَلَكِنَّهُ أَمْلَكَكُمْ لِإِرْبِهِ مُتَّفِقٌ عَلَيْهِ وَاللَّفْظُ لِمُسْلِمٍ وَزَادَ فِي رِوَايَةٍ فِي رَمَضَانَ. طيب. So now this is another matter we'll discuss in regards to the next narration if everyone looks in their book. It speaks about the narration of our mother, Aisha radiallahu anha, saying that the Messenger of Allah used to kiss his family while he was fasting. And yubashiru. Mubashara is something that is even more. So not only did he used to kiss, he used to also yubashir. Mubashara means fondle with his wife. He used to fondle with her, and he used to also do things such as hugging and anything that is considered where the skin is now merging with someone else's skin. That's the meaning of mubashara from bashara. Bashara. Bashara means complexion or skin. But at any rate, here it says that the Messenger of Allah used to caress also his wives and fondle with them while he was fasting. But listen to the end of the narration. It says, however, he was the most what? Controlling of amongst you of his desires. He was the one that was the owner, and he was the one that was the most controlling in regards to his desires. So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as it says, he used to kiss while he was fasting. And he also used to caress. However, he was the one that was the most controlling of his desires. He was the one that could control his desires. Right, so now we're going to speak about this in detail. You'll find that Ahl Ilm say that it is detested, it is hated, that if a man, some of Ahl Ilm, I'm going to get into the correct, strongest opinion, don't worry. That for the one whose desires, if he was to kiss his wife in his desires, just listen, don't write this down. And he was to kiss his wife or caress her, and if he feels some type of feeling of desires, being aroused, then it is detested. So listen, just listen. Firstly, number one, as far as what one feels of desires, it breaks down into three categories. This you can write down if you want. But before you write it down, listen. So I want you to understand. We have three types. And in actuality, it's two. I'm going to summarize it. In actuality, it's actually two. But for right now, just listen. You have a time where a person might kiss his wife or wife kiss him while he's fasting, and he or she does not feel any arousal of one's desires at all. There are people out there that do that. Your wife kiss him, give a light kiss or whatever, and his desires or her desires are not aroused, or they're not affected or moved whatsoever. For example, especially if one kisses his children, or for example, they might kiss someone in their family who just came from traveling. They were on the road, they haven't seen them for a long period of time, or maybe a short period of time. And they arrived and they give them a hug and they give them a kiss. Or anything similar to that. We know that this type of circumstance is not going to move anyone's desire. Inshallah. Unless you're a pervert or something. But as far as in regard as far as someone who you have not seen, someone who's of a family member who was traveling for a long time, or someone they come, they arrive, you give them a hug, you give them a kiss, this has nothing to do with what we're speaking about now. Let's just say this is in the month of Ramadan, you met them at the airport, you gave them a hug, you gave them a handshake or whatever, or a hug or a kiss or whatever, then this right here is not applicable. This does not does not affect your fast at all. This does not apply to what we're speaking about now. Fine. The second, for example, let's just say when one kisses his family or wife or spouse or what have you, he feels some type of arousal of his desires. Everyone I think in the room knows what I'm speaking about. They feel some type of arousal. Their desires become somewhat what? Moved or aroused. However, in this state, he still feels secure that he will not ruin his fast by semen starting to now be ejaculated. He does not worry about that. Or, for example, let's just say pre-seminal discharge, even though we already discussed that pre-seminal discharge does not break your fast. It does not break your fast, what they call pre-semen. But the proper, I think, term for it is pre-seminal or pre-seminal discharge. That does not break your fast. So the second category, just to sum it up, is that, for example, when one hugs his wife or kisses his wife or vice versa, and he feels secure that he will not invalidate his fast. If this is the case, then he can what? He can do it, of course. There's no problem with that. He might feel a little feeling of desire within himself, being aroused, but he does not go to the extent where he will fall into something, or maybe he'll go beyond that. Or just mere caressing or mere kiss, where it would go beyond that, then whereas he will fall into something that will be a reason for invalidating his fast. This second category is what is permissible. It is permissible, and there's nothing wrong with that. The third is what we're speaking about, where a person has the fear of his fast being invalid, either due to what? Now, sperm or some type of sperm will start to what? Come out. If it's in an instance, let's just say, for example, a person thinks, and I want everyone to, and I think I already answered the question of this a couple of weeks ago. If he just merely thought like that, a quick thought, and now sperm came out, does that invalidate his fast? He did not touch himself, or he did not do anything that would necessitate ejaculation or sperm starting to come out. What do we say about that person? I said last class, it does not break his fast. If he was just thinking, a mere thought, and certain people out there do have desires to this extent, where it's that what? Strong. No. Even semen, actual semen itself. He just said he just had a thought, just a one thought, bang, that's it, it's that fast. That type of thought, based upon that, doesn't break the fast because he did it unintentionally. We're going to talk about that, inshallah. But if he caused it himself, he touched himself, or his wife touched him, or they caressed to the point where she caused it or he caused it for himself, that and sperm now emanates, what comes out, that breaks the fast. It breaks it. That will what? Break the fast without a doubt. Okay, for now, the third category, like we said, what is correct is to say, it says, أن يخشى من فساد الصوم إما بإنزال وإما بإمذاء. إن قلنا بأنه يفطر بالإمذاء. We already talked about مذي. مذي doesn't break your fast. طيب. فهذا إذا ظن الإنزال بأن يكون شابا قوي الشهوة شديد المحبة لأهله فهذا لا شك أنه على خطر. إذا قبل زوجته في هذه الحال فمثل هذا يقال في حقه يحرم عليه أن يقبل لأنه يعرض صومه للفساد. He said, for verily in this instance, it's the third category. If a person is young, very strong in his desires, he has a very serious love for his wife or his family, or vice versa. He said, no doubt this person is in a state of danger. If he was to kiss his wife in this state, for similar to that, we could say in regards to him that it's not permissible for him, because he's exposing his fast for it being invalid. So these are the three categories, if you want to say, in regards to the person, that if he wanted to kiss his family, or even caress her, or touch her, or hug her, or what have you, that these are the three instances. Number one is that we discussed, is when a person kisses one, or hugs one, or touches one, and his desires are not moved in any shape, form, or fashion. They're not moved at all. They're not aroused. And we gave examples of this, such as one kissing his child, or one kissing someone in his family, or giving his mother a hug and a kiss, or what have you, or his aunt, or sister, or what have you, because they were traveling, and they seen them, or they met them at the airport. Of course, for the person's mind, who's not a pervert, of course, will kiss someone in his family and not feel anything at all. He would not feel anything at all. So this is not applicable to what we're speaking about now. Then you have the second one, that you might kiss your wife or your family, and you might feel a little bit of arousal within yourself. But however, of course, you feel safe that you will not fall into anything that will invalidate the fast. In this instance, it is permissible. You can do it. As long as you feel secure that you will not go beyond what is legislated, then it is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. As far as now, let's just say one hugged his wife or his family and pre-seminal discharge came out. Let's just say, for example, you hugged and kissed her until what they call it pre-semen or pre-seminal discharge came out. This does not break the fast. Pre-seminal discharge does not break the fast. But let's just say they were kissing and hugging and caressing it to the point where sperm did come out. This what? Does it break the fast or doesn't? It does break it. It does break it. Exactly. Skin to the point where it does break it if semen or sperm is released. If it's released, it breaks the fast. It breaks the fast, especially if you caused it. If you did some type of movements of yourself or touched yourself and sperm is released, it breaks your fast. If your wife touches you, likewise. If she touches you to the point where sperm is released, then it breaks one's fast. However, a person would say, what about what you just mentioned a couple of minutes ago? That's based upon, for example, one has a thought, or if one is asleep and he has a wet dream. All of that is from the aspect of what I said in the beginning of the class, which is unintentional. If a person wakes up and he found out he had a wet dream or she had a wet dream, then they continue their fast. They continue and finish it and conclude and finalize their fast because it was unintentional. However, if you're the one that caused it, you touched yourself, certain body parts, and it was out of desire, and to the point you made yourself aroused, where sperm was released, that will break the fast. That will break it. But like we talked about, just to keep in mind, the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam gave us all the hudud of what is permissible for the human being. And in this instance, you see how perfect the religion of the deen of Islam is, whereas the Messenger of Allah gave us a middle ground of what we can do even in the state while we're fasting. That one can kiss, he can touch his wife. And certain men out there are controlling of they can control their desires, but they can do a little bit more than that. But one should know himself. And he knows himself better than what? Anyone else. You'll find that even some of Ahl Ilm, that they, in regards to what they say, as a matter of fact, I'll break this down quickly. It says, Al-Mubashara, it says that the Messenger of Allah, Kan yubashiru, wa huwa sa'im. What is the meaning of Mubashara? The word Mubashara, or Yubashir. It says, Yubashiru azwajahu wa huwa sa'im. The meaning of Mubashara is Lamsul Bashara, meaning touching of the skin. Because Bashara means skin or complexion. It means complexion. Without something of a barrier between you and it, meaning you're touching it directly. He says, Kana yubashiru yamussu nisa'ahu. He used to touch his women, his wives, not women, he used to touch his wives directly. While he was fasting, he used to kiss them. He used to kiss her while he was fasting. However, it says clearly at the end of the hadith, he was able to control himself. He was able to control his desires. Meaning, even though he was not, even though he used to do this, alayhi salatu wasalam, he was not in fear of what? Of his desires taking him over. So in this case, like we said, it is permissible to do this for the one who does not fear that he falls into this. Some of the Ahl Ilm saying that it's not permissible for the one who's young and they're very strong in their desires. You'll find that some of Ahl Ilm does give this what? Detail. That they say for the one who's young, a youth, and his desires are strong, then he should avoid this. And they give other details where some men, walillahi alhamd, their desires are strong for a long period of time, even after they are not a teenager anymore. Maybe they might have that type of desire for their wife. they have that type of desire for their wife and vice versa. For in that case, like we said, if that is the case where one has this type of attraction, then he thinks or she thinks that it's going to go beyond that boundary or exceed that boundary, then they should what? Not do it until one has concluded or she has concluded her fast. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Right. So these are the three categories that we just mentioned. It's also you will also find we already finished that. Alhamdulillah. It's in there. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. شنو لا إله إلا الله شنو لا إله إلا الله What's wrong? What happened? طيب. The next narrations, if you want to read them, تفضل. ورثاري ابن عباس رضي الله عنه وأرضاه. Read about موضوع الحجامة في حال الصوم. تفضل. You want to read the next narrations? You read them in English. Sorry, son. So this narration is in Al-Bukhari that the Prophet ﷺ احتجم وهو محرم واحتجم وهو صائم. رواه البخاري. هذا يحتاج إلى تفاصيل سنرجع على ذكرها بعد قليل. تفضل. You can واصل. You go. Read the next narration. شداد بن أوس. شداد بن أوس. شداد ابن أوس. البقيع in the graveyard right next to the masjid. تفضل. Ibn Hibban. So we got the first narration which says that the Messenger of Allah he received hijab, that the Messenger of Allah, he was cupped and he was in a state of ihram, meaning he was in a state of either performing hajj or umrah, right? So he was in that sacred state. Then his last part of the narration said, well, وَاحْتَجَمَ وَهُوَ صَائِمٌ, that he was cupped while he was fasting. So that's in Al-Bukhari. Right, everyone? طيب, this narration says here, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أتى على رجل بالبقيع وهو يحتجم في رمضان فقال أفطر الحاجم والمحجوم. He says that the message of Allah came upon a man in the Baqi', which is the graveyard, and he was being cupped. I have to change this. And he was what? And he was getting cupped in the month of Ramadan. So he said, the one who performs the cupping and the one getting cupped have broken their fast. So they're seeing there's a contradiction. The first narration said the message of Allah did it. The second one here says that he said that one who's doing that has broken his fast. طيب. So that seems like there's some type of what? Ta'arud. It seems. ظاهره التعارض. What is apparent is that there's some type of what? There's some type of contradiction in the narrations. طيب. Read the third one. Read the third one. Anas ibn Malik. Dar-Qutni. طيب. So this is the topic in which we was discussing, which is in it one of the most biggest khilaf in this affair of one being cupped while he or she is fasting. As we know, cup or cupping is an ilaj that is mashru' and that is yumdah alayhi or yumdah ala fa'ilayhi. That a person who cups himself or a person that gets cupped is a form of a remedy in which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ also encouraged the ummah to what? To perform. It is one of those remedies that are left off, where it is one remedy, where verily it's a remedy that is what? It's mahjur. It is left off and it's highly recommended to utilize it if one is able and he knows how to do it properly. Due to the narration which is in Ibn Majah, well, also the Imam al-Albani authenticated where he said that the message of Allah sallallahu ما مررت على ملأ إلا يعني ملأ من مجموع الملائكة فقالوا لي يا محمد مر أمتك بالحجامة مر أمتك بالحجامة. He said that I passed by a group of angels and the angels said to me, O Muhammad, command your ummah or your followers to perform cupping. So it's a form and it's a very beneficial remedy. Cupping is removal of the bad blood in the system, and it's a form of healing, and it brings about a lot of ease in regards to a lot of ailments and sicknesses which can be cured by this type of remedy, which is called cupping, if it's done properly and if it's done at certain times. And there's other times where one performs the cupping where one should not do it. It's disliked for one to do it, but certain days it's highly recommended that one do it. And we'll touch on those details later on, inshallah. But however, the topic of today, is it permissible for one to be cupped while he is fasting? That's the issue. So number one, we know that cupping is removal of the blood. Is removal of the blood from the body. So based upon that, is it now for one to do this while he or she is fasting? That's what we're going to discuss. So do you notice in the first narration, what does it say, everyone? Before I start talking about this, I wanted to say that cupping in the times of old had a different method. That they used to use it, they used to remove the blood by what they call a mihjam, where they would take a horn and they would suck it directly, like that. So the person who was removing the blood would suck it out with his mouth directly, like this. That's how it was done in the times of old. In times of old, they used to remove the blood and perform cupping in that manner. And it was, like we said, it was a remedy that was known, and it was a prophetic medicine. It's a prophetic medicine. It's very beneficial. Like I said, I gave one narration which is in Ibn Majah. It said, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ما مررت بملأ يعني من الملائكة إلا قالوا لي يا محمد مر أمتك بالحجامة. There's another narration which says وإن كان في شيء من أدويتكم خير ففي شربة عسل أو شرطة محجم أو لذعة من نار وما أحب أن أكتوي. As it says in the narration. He said, for verily, if it's from your remedies of what is good, for verily it is in sharbata asal, drinking or consuming natural honey. Consuming natural honey. Wa shartata mihjam. That's the point of reference or evidence here in this narration. We say shartata mihjam, meaning performing cupping. So he said that's beneficial. Or lad'atan. He said lad'atan min nar, or being what? Cauterized. He said, but however, the Messenger of Allah highly detested that one be cauterized. I mean, it's a type of burning that one would use in order for what? To remove some type of serious, life-threatening illness. That they would be what? It's called cauterization. That's something I'll discuss later on. But at any rate, the point of the evidence here is to show clearly the Messenger of Allah highly emphasized that a very beneficial remedy is what, everyone? Is what they call hijama, which is cupping, which is removal of the bad blood in the body, sucking it to the surface of the skin, and then removing it. Like we said, it's very beneficial. طيب. So in this is, like we said, cupping is something that's a form of a remedy. And it's very beneficial, and even to this day, it is something that needs to be returned and utilized. You know, I heard still in certain parts of America, they still utilize this. I heard especially in the South. There are people that do cup. They take the skin, or they put in the form of a match or a lighter, they put it on the skin so the bad blood sucked to the surface, and then they take little pricks around it, and then they what? They put it back on the skin in order for the blood to be removed. It's still utilized in certain parts of this country. They all took that from the Muslims. That was utilized and took from the Muslim. Allah knows best. It was probably adopted from when the slaves were brought over here from Africa. Because a lot of them were Muslim when they came over here. They forced Christianity on them. But a lot of them, when they were in Africa, they were brought over from the European countries or in Africa, what have you, and they were brought over here. A lot of them were Muslim. And a lot of them were probably cupping. So they probably kept some of those customs with them. And this is probably from them. So you find in the South especially that they still what? Do perform this type of remedy, which is called cupping, depending on the certain parts of the body where a person has an ailment or some type of pain. So in this regard, you'll find in the narration here, like we discussed, it says what, everyone? So number one, it says that he was cupped, the Messenger of Allah, he received cupping while he was in a state of ihram. While he was in a state of ihram, meaning he was about to perform either umrah or hajj. Then you have a second narration where it says that he passed by one and he was getting cupped while he was fasting. He said this one, or the one who removes the blood and the one who's getting cupped, both break their fast. Then they say on the authority, Anas ibn Malik, أول ما كرهت الحجامة للصائم أن جعفر بن أبي طالب احتجم وهو صائم فمر به النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال أفطر هذان ثم رخص النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بعد في الحجامة للصائم وكان أنس يحتجم وهو صائم. These needs a lot of details. طيب. So it seems like there's some type of what? Contradiction amongst these narrations. So you have narrations that said it seems that it doesn't break the fast. Then you have narrations. It shows that if it does what? Break the fast. So now, فَلِيَنَوْ سُكِبَ مِنْهُ الدَّمَ الَّذِي بِهِ قُوَّةُ الْبَدَنِ. The majority, if you'll find the great ai*imma, from them is the great Imam Sheikh Salih Fawzan ibn Abdullah al-Fawzan. And other than them, from Ahl Ilm, even Ibn Uthaymeen, and other than them, even Sheikh bin Baz, and other than him, Sheikh Muhammad Ibrahim Ali Sheikh, to the end of it. From all those ulama of the past who say it does break the fast. Saying that it's similar to what? Similar to what a woman goes through on her monthly cycle, where we know that when she has her cycle, it is not permissible for her to what? To fast at all. And the reason for it is because blood is being what? The blood is starting to actually come out, and they say that's the reason of why one that gets cupped should not get cupped, because firstly, it's an abundance of blood being removed. لو خففتم الصوت الله يحفظنا وإياكم يعني هذا الصوت هذا يزعجنا بعض الشيء الله يحفظكم. طيب. So we say that number one, in regards to the hijama, that the hijama is removal of copious amounts of blood within the bloodstream. And as a result of it, like we said, that is where you'll find the Ahl Ilm say that was what breaks the fast. So what's the answer to these narrations? It says that the Messenger of Allah did give permission for the one who does get cupped, but it doesn't break his fast. What do we say? That's the reason why you'll find that they say these are from those masail تتجاذب فيها الأدلة من كلا الطرفين. You'll find in this particular masala, this one specifically, that you'll find that the evidence that they are like يتجاذب, that they're both pulling each other from back and forth, as far as in their what? Their evidences and proofs. That's why you'll even find that a lot of people say, just avoid the hijama till the sun goes down. And stay out of khilaf. Khuruja min al-khilaf, wait till the sun sets, then perform hijama on yourself. Or get cupped after the sun goes down. Even though some of Ahl Ilm, like we said, from them is these A'imma. From them is Ibn Uthaymeen, from them Ibn Baz, and from them Ibn Uthaymeen, from them Ibn Fawzan, to the end of it. All say it does break the fast. It does break the fast based upon the copious amount of blood that's removed at the time when one is fasted. Because we know, usually when one cups, they take out a lot of blood, a lot of bad blood. Blood that's removed from the body that is bad. In this case here, they said that this is the reason why the Messenger of Allah said it breaks the fast. However, the person who's as they call the hajim, how does that break his fast? He's sucking it out the cup. And when he sucks it out the cup, it's more than likely he would digest some of the person's actual blood. However, in these days and times, the method of hijama is different. They don't actually suck it out directly. They have little cups, they pump it, and the blood starts to come out by itself. So that's not particularly applicable to the people who's performing it. So a person who's actually pumping it, and he's a doctor, it doesn't break his fast because of this This now progressed method that has now come about, because it's not like the times of old where they used to suck it out the horn directly. So the Messenger of Allah is talking about that person breaks his fast. As for the person that comes and uses the cups, pumps them, and the blood is act naturally coming out of the skin, it does not break his fast in regards to him. But in regards to the person that he's being now performed on, that cupping, they say it breaks his fast. Is it clear what I'm saying? That's getting cupped, not the one that's doing the cupping in these days. But in the times of old, this narration was what applicable. You understand what I'm saying? Fine. So that's what we say in this regard. So we said, number one, for the reason why you'll find that a lot of them say that it breaks the fast, he said, فَلِيَنَّهُ سُكِبَ مِنْهُ الدَّمَ الَّذِي بِهِ قُوَةُ الْبَدَنِ فَأَفْطَرَ بِذَلِكَ كما أن الحائض تفطر إذا خرج منها دم الحيض لأن ذلك يضعفها عن الصيام وكذلك الاحتجام يضعف الصائم عن الصيام لأنه استخرج ما فيه قوته وأما إفطار الحاجم فلأنه يمتص الدم بالقرن ولكن انتهى هذا الزمن. طيب. So it says now that the hijama that it does break the fast. As far as the one is being cupped on or the one who's being performed on, that he says because blood is what gives strength to the body. The blood is what gives strength to the body. And because of it being removed, this is what causes the fast to be invalid. Similar to a woman who's on her mens. Her fast is broken due to the fact that the blood that has nutrients to give strength to her body has been removed. and that will render her weak from fasting. He says similar to that is cupping. It's the same thing. If one is to remove copious amounts of blood, then, like we said, it will render one weak from performing this task of fasting. The anno istakhraj, because a person removed out of him, or they extracted from out of them, what his strength comes from, which is his blood. As for the hajj, and we already discussed that. We said that the old method was due to the what? The horn. But now that people do not utilize that type of method anymore these days, they use the pump, usually, or it's the other type where they take the match and they put it under there and it becomes a vacuum. The heat becomes a vacuum and it sucks it out automatically. Or they utilize what they call a pump. They put it on the skin and they'll just pump it in the blood. The bad blood will just come out of it automatically. But for the times of old, that's what the Messenger of Allah was talking about. The one who actually performs it on the individual, it breaks his fast due to the fact that he was the one that was what? Sucking it. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. So now we say in this hadith, what about the third one? So now we want to gather between the two. It says that the Messenger of Allah used to what? That he used to detest and prohibit cupping in the first state, or the first marhala, or the first state, or in the beginning of, let's just say in the beginning, he used to what? Prohibit it. Then he gave permission for it. طيب. So it's now فتكون أحاديث الترخيص ناسخة لأحاديث المنع على الحديث الثالث وبناء على ذلك اختلف العلماء رحمه الله في موضوع الحجامة. طيب. So based upon that, and I'm going to say this and I'm going to end it here. He said, based upon these narrations here, you'll find that Ahl Ilm in this regard that they differ. The first statement is, number one, I'm not going to make it too lengthy. It says, which is the statement of the Jamhur, wal a'immatu thalatha, from those from the Jamhur, from the majority of Ahl Ilm, and the three A'imma from them was Malik, Shafi, Abi Hanifa, and al-hijama la tuftiru as-sa'im. Just listen. I want everyone to listen to this carefully. He says that the hijama does not break the fast. That's what they say. Yeah? Is it clear what I'm saying so far? He said based upon the narration, because they're using evidence from Kitab and Sunnah. They're not using their own ra'i. Hunak nas min Kitab wa Sunnah. He says, so they have a text. You see it in your books. You see it clearly. In the third narration we're discussing right now, that's been extracted in the text by Imam ad-Darqutni. Right, everyone? He says, based upon the narration that the Messenger of Allah got cupped and he was fasting. And also the third, that the Messenger of Allah allowed it after he made it prohibited. And it says that Anas ibn Malik used to what? He used to get cupped while he was fasting. So he took the evidence. Based upon this, these A'imma utilized that to say that it's permissible for one to do it while he is what? Fasting. طيب. Alright, so now it goes on to say, وهذه الأدلة جواز الحجامة للصائم وأجابوا عن حديث أفطر الحاج والمحجوم بأنه منسوخ بحديث ترخيص في الحجامة. So they said, well, what about the narration where it says that the Messenger of Allah clearly said the one who's doing it and the one who's getting cupped broke their fast? They said that this narration here, the third one and the first one, abrogated the second one. Is it clear what I'm saying? The first narration, the third narration abrogated the what? The second. That's what we say in this regard. طيب. So what's the delil for all these great A'imma? Sheikh Ibn Fawzan, Ibn Uthaymeen, Ibn Ba, other than them. What do we say about them? Where is their evidence and proof? So listen to this. Listen to the second statement. Because this is very strong. Now listen to this part, because everybody's going to be blown away by the second statement. I'm going to say this one and then we're going to pray. He said, أن الحجامة القول الثاني أن الحجامة تفطر الصائم ولا تجوز له وهو في حال الصوم وهذا قول الإمام أحمد وجماعة من المحدثين كإسحاق بن راهويه وابن خزيمة واختيار شيخ الإسلام تيمية وتلميذه ابن القيم بأن الحجامة تفطر الصائم عملا بحديث أفطر الحاج والمحجوم وحديث رواه 14 صحابيا عن الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم وهو متواتر أو قريب من التواتر قوي الإسناد واضح المعنى فهو يدل على أن الحجامة تفطر الصائم وأجاب عن حديث احتجم وهو الصائم بأن هذه اللفظة غير محفوظة. الصحيح أنه احتجم وهو محرم. وأما اللفظ وهو الصائم فهو غير محفوظة وإن كانت في صحيح البخاري ولذلك تركها الإمام مسلم. تركها رواه احتجم وهو محرم فقط دون ذكر اللفظ وهو صائم لأن هذه الزيادة غير محفوظة عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Now this is the second statement, that the hijama breaks what? It does break the fast. It's not permissible. That's the statement of Imam Ahmad. It's a statement of a group of the muhaddithin, such as Ishaq ibn Rahawayh. That's a major name. That's the sheikh of Imam Ahmad. Imam Ahmad's sheikh was Ishaq ibn Rahawayh, or Ishaq ibn Rahawayh. That was his sheikh. To the point where they asked this Imam Ahmad about Ishaq ibn Rahawayh. Imam Ahmad said, "You asking me about Ishaq ibn Rahawayh?" It should be the opposite. So that's a major name, Ishaq ibn Rahawayh. And Ibn Khuzaymah, who's Imam A'immat Ahl Sunnah. It's a major name. Ibn Khuzaymah, also Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, and Ibn al-Qayyim all said that hijama breaks the fast. So those are major names. Some major, huge names. They said it breaks the fast. So now they say that what? That based upon the narration that the Messenger of Allah clearly said here, that it does still stand and it's applicable that one who gets cut while he's fast is broken. He said because who narrated this narration, that the one who sucks out the blood and the one who's getting cut, they said it was about maybe 17 Sahabi narrated or more. They said which has now reached the level of tawatur or close to tawatur. We know what the meaning of tawatur is, right, everyone? Mutawatir. We know what it means, right? Everyone knows what tawatur means, right? Yes or no? We talked about tawatur. Tawatur means it's been related by a huge number of Sahabi. طيب. It says that the Messenger of Allah, he said that also this isnad is very strong. All of it's asanid, and they're clear in their meaning. So it's an indication that hijama, it does break one's fast. And they answered the narration that the Messenger of Allah, ihtajama huwa sa'im, as far as the first one in Bukhari. They say the isnad is sahih in Bukhari. However, you'll find, no, the first hadith was in Bukhari. However, there at the last love, the last wording of the hadith is what? Is ghayru mahfudha. Just the wording has not been recorded. Meaning that the wording is weak. Not the isnad. The wording in the nas in the text is weak. Which is that the Messenger of Allah was cut while he was fasting. That wording is, they say, is da'if, it's weak. Shaykh al-Islam, Ibn al-Qayyim, and Imam Ahmad said it's weak. He said the isnad is what? It's authentic. You got to realize, everyone, when the muhaddithin checked all the narrations of the Prophet ﷺ, they did not just check the isnad, they also checked the text. Because they're two different what? Sciences. You have to check the isnad and check the text. Because sometimes some of the alfaz or the wordings can be what? Some of them can be weak and some of them can be shadh. They could be also extremely weird, what is what? Rejected. Where it opposes the other asanid that are stronger and more than number. As far as in the ai or those imams that related the narration, who are stronger than their memories and they're more in number. And that in regards to these particular narrations, that's why they call it extremely weird. Whereas he opposed so many people who was way more what? Stronger in his memory and more number. So here they say that particular lafza, that wording, ihtajama wa huwa sa'im ghayru mahfudha. It's not what? It's not authentic. The wording. But the hadith is authentic other than that, other than the last part, which is that he will fast while he was what? Fasting. They said that it's not what? It's not been reportedly, authentically reported. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? We'll stop here, inshallah. طيب. Like I said, these are من المسائل التي تتجاذب فيها الأدلة بين الطرفين. ولأجل ذلك خروج من الخلاف الأفضل للصائم تأخير الحجامة إلى أن تغرب الشمس فإذا غربت الشمس يأخذ راحته ويحتجم خروجا من الخلاف. طيب. So he's saying with a person now what? That a person, once the sun goes down, if he wants to leave and alleviate himself of falling in difference of opinion, then wait till the sun goes down and get cupped. Wait till the sun goes down, break your fast, khalas. But, like we said, we have these narrations where they are strong positions from names that are very strong and considered mountains of knowledge. But he clearly mentioned and said, what everyone? That perhaps if you was to get cupped while you're fasting, that you will break your fast. طيب. Last question. Let's just say a person unintentionally went, passed by something, cut his leg. Blood, copious amount of blood started coming out. Does it break your fast? Does it break your fast? Not break it. Why? It was unintentional. طيب. What if he had a sore? Let's just say he bust a bump or a pimple on his face. That's intentional. What? He did it intentionally. He broke a pus or a bump on his face. He ain't break his fast? Jade, your fast is not broken due to the fact it's not copious amounts of blood. If there's a lot of blood, breaks the fast. If it's a little bit of blood, if he did it intentionally. If he did it intentionally, if there's a little bit of blood, it doesn't break your fast. A lot of blood, break your fast. Dialysis, that's something that I have to go back to. Well, first of all, if a person is doing dialysis, he shouldn't be fasting at all. That's the first thing. Person asked me that, if not dialysis, my kidneys fail. Well, if your kidneys fail, you shouldn't be fasting at all. You shouldn't be fasting at all. You should be feeding. We'll discuss that, inshallah. But they say dialysis is the cleansing of the blood, and it goes back inside the blood, in the body, after it's been cleansed. So you'll find that there's some reluctancy with Ahl Ilm say in that regard. But if a person is getting dialysis, they shouldn't even be fasting at all. Any questions about the lesson, anyone? Any questions about the lesson? Tafadhal. A boil? That's not a lot of blood. If it's a copious amount, I'm talking about a lot of blood, it's intentionally removed out the body, it breaks your fast. If it's a lot. If it's something out of a sore, a little small sore, what have you, it doesn't break the fast. Even if you do it intentionally. Even if a doctor took a blood sample or specimen from your body, what have you, it doesn't break your fast. No. Anything else? بقي عندكم شيء؟ ها؟ طيب. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.